Well, good morning. Yesterday we looked at the Passover, and the Israelites have finally been freed from Egypt and they've left, and God instituted the Passover as a yearly festival to remind them of his deliverance from Egypt. And today he institutes a couple more things to help them remember what he has done. And the first one, this is Exodus chapter 13. The first one is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you might be wondering, what's with all this big deal about unleavened bread without yeast? Kind of just sum it up in verse 6 and 7. It says, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. No leavened bread shall be seen with you, and no leaven shall be seen with you in all your territory. And then you shall tell your son on that day, it is because of what the Lord did to me when I came out of Egypt. And so the leaven thing, kind of two things. One, it'll explain that it's because when they had to flee, when they had to quickly get ready and leave Egypt, unleavened bread keeps longer and it's smaller, so it can pack tighter, and so it was unleavened bread. But you also see this picture of yeast being used as a picture of sin, that sin that kind of just subtly creeps into our hearts and kind of like taints the whole thing. It's insidious. That kind of an idea. Jesus would use it as imagery several times about yeast being like that sin that creeps in, and because a little bit of yeast, so small, and yet it affects the entire loaf. And so that would be the other picture and the other reminder that God's giving the Israelites here during this feast. It's also a feast of celebration to remind them of what God did. And then the second thing is the consecration of the firstborn, the giving of this firstborn to God. And so it says, verse 11, when the Lord brings you into the land of Canaan, that's the promised land, as he swore to you and your fathers, and give it to you, you shall set apart to the Lord all the first that open the womb. All the firstborn of your animals that are males shall be the Lord's. Every firstborn donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. So that means you kill a lamb, sacrifice a lamb in place of the donkey. Or if you won't redeem it, you need to break the donkey's neck. Every firstborn of man among your sons you will redeem. So again, with a lamb. And when in time come your son and ask you, what does this mean? You shall say to him, by a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt from the house of slavery. And so this consecration of the firstborn in that culture was, that's who would basically take over your family. They would be the ones that the majority of your possessions would pass on to. You remember like the Jacob and Esau stories, and Jacob stealing Esau's firstborn rights, and that it was a big deal. It also represented your firstborn was, I mean, they didn't have pension plans or anything. I mean, that was your legacy, that was your future, that was your entire family name was passed from the father to the firstborn son to the firstborn son and down through the generations. And so when God is saying to consecrate the firstborn, to give him the firstborn of everything, every animal you own, every animal in your flock, as well as your own family, to sacrifice it to him, or that in case of people, that you would sacrifice something in their place as a symbol of giving them to the Lord. You're giving God your future. You're giving God all your plans. You're giving God your family. That's the picture here. And not only that, the fact that you had to sacrifice this firstborn was another reminder, like the Passover, like so many of the sacrificial system that we'll read about in the coming books, was again a reminder of our sin, and that we need God to, something needs to pay for our sin. And then of course we know that will be done in full when Jesus comes and dies for us. And so, for our application, what is it that God is asking you to give him as part of your future? Have you given him your future? Have you given him your plans? Have you given him your family? Have you put all that in his hands? Do you look for his will and his direction in every area of your life? And that's what he asks. Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, you need to deny yourself and your family and give it all to me. And Jesus will take it. It's already his anyways. And he'll take it and use it for his glory. And so with that, may God bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. And today would you know his peace. God bless.